Good morning. My name is Diane Gelder, and I serve as a trustee on your DuPage UU Church Board of Trustees. We want to welcome everyone this morning to our open and inclusive virtual community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and pledge to support one another as we explore those paths. We are so glad you were able to find us and join us for our live stream service today. Please check the church website at www.dupageuchurch.org for updates. If you search under DuPage UU Church on Facebook, you will find a number of ways to be in community with us as well. This morning, it is the second Sunday of the month, and as our custom, we will be holding virtual Zoom coffee hour at 11:30 a.m. Please join your church friends for virtual coffee hour after the service using Zoom. Join us around 11:30 or so, and then around 11:45, we will separate into small groups of 4 or 5 people for conversation. We provide these small groups twice so you can really mingle. Let's keep our connections strong. Look for Zoom information in the order of service email. And our special treat today, we are having a Meet the Minister picnic here on the grounds. For all ages, socially distanced in masks, out in our backyard from noon until 2. Please come and meet Reverend Connie and socialize with your church friends. Bring your own blanket and/or chairs and your own self-contained picnic. We have 2 large tents set up in the churchyard for shade. Watch the service online, do a little coffee hour, and come on over and join us at church.
So glad that you are with us this morning as we light the Chalice Flame. These words by Florence Kaplow. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of the sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. And our opening hymn is number 1023, Building Bridges. We'll sing it 3 times.
Building bridges between And now, please join me in the spoken affirmation of our congregation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you.
It is time to gather. Today, Reverend Connie is talking about in between, and my story is about a shared time between animals. The story is Bear and Wolf by Danielle Samari. It was a windless night, and glowing snowflakes fell through the trees deep in the forest. Bear was out walking when she spotted something poking out from the glistening white. At the same time, Wolf was out walking when he spotted something poking out from the glistening white. When Bear got closer, she could see it was a young wolf. She could see the wolf's pointy snout, smooth gray fur, golden eyes, and wet black nose. When Wolf got closer, he could see it was a young bear, and he could see the bear's big round head, soft black fur, deep brown eyes, and wet black nose. "Are you lost?" asked Bear. "No, I'm not lost. Are you?" asked Wolf. "No, I'm not lost. I'm out for a walk, to feel the cold on my face and to enjoy the quiet of the woods when it snows. What are you doing?" "I'm out for a walk, to feel the cold under my paws and to listen to the crunching of the snow as I walk." "Do you want to walk with me?" asked Bear. "Sure," said Wolf. And Bear and Wolf walked through the quietly falling snow, under their eyes and ears and noses to take in the snowy woods. They both had thick, warm fur that covered their whole bodies. They were creatures made to be comfortable in the very cold. Bear and Wolf smelled the wet bark of the trees and heard the small sounds of the snowflakes made on their fur. They slowed down to look closely at the different shapes. High above the trees, Bird was gliding through the sky, feeling the snowy air on her new wing, when she saw through the branches two shapes poking out from the glistening white. She flapped down to rest on a branch to get a better look. Now she could see it was Bear and Wolf walking together side by side. Bear and Wolf continued on through the woods, looking up to notice the bird and passing quietly under the branch where she sat. The snow was slowing as they came to a great clearing in the woods, and both Bear and Wolf had been here before, but that was in the summertime, when the forest was green and bursting with smells and sounds. In the summertime, this place was a round blue lake. Now it was a huge flat circle of white, and they walked out onto the frozen lake and looked down. Bear cleared away some snow with her paw. They looked through the cloudy, frozen water and saw fish floating, asleep in the green depths. "I have to go now, Wolf," said Bear. "I have to go back to my cave and sleep through the rest of the winter with my family." "I have to go now also," said Wolf. "I have to go back to my pack. We are following the scent of caribou and have many nights of running ahead of us." "I really liked walking with you," said Bear. "I really liked walking with you too," said Wolf. I hope that we meet again." and they turned from each other and walked away. Bear spent the winter deep in a cave with her family, sleeping dreamlessly in her thick, warm fur. And Wolf spent his winter running silently with his pack, looking for the caribou. Some time passed, and winter faded from their part of the earth. The snow melted, the grass and leaves grew again, and birds sang in the tops of trees. The forest was bursting with sounds and smells. Bear was out walking through the deep grass when she spotted something poking out from the swaying green. Bear and Wolf walked through the gentle breeze, using their eyes and ears and noses to take in the awakening woods.
Please join us now for our song affirmation.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. We remember those who are experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for all. We are disappointed that return to in-person services has been delayed, and we look forward to the time when we can be together. May we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us continue to care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, let's take a moment to be quiet together. In Between by Kate Walker. In between, liminal, that space where we wait, between moments, events, results, action, no action. To stand on the threshold waiting for something to end and something new to arrive, a pause in the rumble of time. Awareness claims us, alert, a shadow of something different. In between invitation and acceptance, between symptom and diagnosis, between send and receipt of inquiry and question, in between love given and love received, liminality, a letting go, entering into confusion, ambiguity, and disorientation. A ritual begun, pause, look back at what once was, look forward into what becomes. Identity sheds a layer, reaches into something uncomfortable to wear. In between lighting of the match and the kindling of oil. In between choosing of text and the reading of words. In between voices and notes carried through the air into ears to hear. In between, creation thrusts ever forward. Social hierarchies may disassemble and structures may fall. Communities may revolt or tempt trust. Tradition may falter or creativity crash forward. Leaders may step down or take charge. The people may choose or refuse. In between, storm predicted, the horizon beacons. In between, theology of process reminds us to step back. In between, where minutiae and galaxies intermingle with microbes and mysteries. In between, liminal, that space where we wait, look, listen, feel, breathe.
Thank you, Vera. Our offering words this morning are written by Leslie Takahashi, the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Despite distance and fear, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Even in the face of the inevitable losses of life, we are connected. When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected. In the heat of the sun, we are connected. In the glow of the stars, we are connected. Across the limits of our imagination, we are connected. Even when nature trembles, we are connected. This morning, we have a special collection for Animal Rescue Foundation, which is a no-kill humane shelter in Wheaton. And they have sent in a special message for all of us about the important work that they do. And following that video, we will, of course, hear Vera play some lovely music, and there will be a slide showing how we can make our donations to this group and their important work. Thank you.
Our Animal Rescue Foundation has been around since 1985. It started with 3 ladies in a van, and it grew over time. We are now approximately 60 volunteers. We are a home-based rescue, which means there is no facility. All of our volunteers are fosters. All of the dollars that we raise on our own from events like this with adoption fees and our private donations and fundraisers that we hold, every dime of it goes to the animals. We accept all kinds of donations. Cash is always welcome. There's a donate button on our website. We have taken donations of pet supplies, dog food, cat food, any type of animal-related donation. We can always find use for it.
We have to save almost 1,000 animals a year. We do. And we have to feed them, and we give them vet care and vaccinations, and we have them all fixed if they're of age.
We help dogs of all ages, cats of all ages. We don't turn away animals because of health conditions.
ARF covers all the medical costs for fosters. They cover all the food costs. All I do is provide them a place to live and love them until they're ready to be adopted.
We need volunteers. You know what we need especially is fosters, because we are foster-based, so we only save as many as we can foster. It's very simple. You go online, you fill out an application, and they contact you. You know, here I am. I have 2 foster failure dogs and 5 cats. And that's not unusual, because we fall in love with them. But I've also gotten adopted out at least 100 that I've fostered, so.
We do strict reference checks to make sure that our animals go in good homes. And then we hope they keep in touch with us forever and ever and ever through our social media with the animals that they adopt, because it makes our fosters really happy to see that these animals really do go on to save, to have wonderful lives with the people who save them.
When we heard about this event here, we were so excited. We said, we can't live without a dog now. We need to have one at home. So that's how we decided to come here. And we saw Juno. When we saw we just fell in love with Juno and said, we're going to come and get Juno. I think Juno has such friendly eyes. I mean, that's what I looked at. I looked at those eyes and I'm so cute and adorable.
We took in a dog named Navy along with a transport of other animals that were being held in a hoarding situation, and these animals had never been outside of cages in a backyard in their lives. We discovered shortly thereafter that Navy had bladder cancer. We knew that his chances were going to be 8 to 9 months of life. So rather than looking for a standard adopter, we were looking for someone who would provide more hospice care for Navy. We found a wonderful lady who's worked with a rescue before who took on Navy, and we switched it from calling it hospice care to calling it retirement care because Navy was doing so well. And unfortunately, yesterday was Navy's last day. But during that brief period of time that he was with a loving mom, he had a great life, and he wasn't in a cage anymore, and he wasn't being kept in a situation that wasn't great for any dog. And that's the type of thing that we hope for with every dog that we bring in and every cat.
Thank you again, Vera. Our reading this morning is The Parable of the Trapeze by Danielle Perry. Sometimes I feel that my life is a series of trapeze swings. I'm either hanging on to a trapeze bar, swinging along, or for a few moments in my life, I'm hurtling across space in between trapeze bars. Most of the time, I spend my life hanging on for dear life to my trapeze bar of the moment. It carries me along at a certain steady rate of swing, and I have the feeling that I'm in control of my life. But every once in a while, as I am merrily, or even not so merrily, swinging along, I look out ahead of me and into the distance, and what do I see? I see another trapeze bar swinging toward me. It's empty, and I know in that place of me that knows that this new trapeze bar has my name on it. It is my next step, my growth, my aliveness, coming to get me. And in my heart of hearts, I know that for me to grow, I must release my grip on this present, well-known bar and move on to the next one. Each time it happens to me, I hope, no, I pray, that I won't have to let go of my old bar completely before I grab the new one. But in my knowing place, I know that I must totally release my grasp on my old bar. And for some moment in time, I must hurtle across space before I can grab on to the new one. Each time I am filled with terror. It doesn't matter that in all my previous hurdles across the void of unknowing that I have always made it. I am each time afraid that I will miss, that I will be crushed on unseen rocks in the bottomless chasm between the bars. I do it anyway. Perhaps this is the essence of what the mystics call the faith experience. No guarantees, no net, no insurance policy, but you do it anyway. Because somehow, to keep on hanging to that old bar is just no longer on the list of alternatives. So, for an eternity that can last a microsecond or 1,000 lifetimes, I soar across the dark void of the past is gone, but the future is not here yet. It's called transition. I have come to believe that this transition is the only place that real change occurs. I mean real change, not the pseudo change that only lasts until the next time that my old buttons get pushed. I have noticed that in our culture, this transition zone is looked upon as a no thing, a no place, between places. Sure, the old trapeze bar was real, and that new one coming towards me, I hope that that one's real too, but that void in between, it's just scary, confusing, disorienting. It's a nowhere that must be gone through as fast and as unconsciously as possible. What a wasted opportunity that would be. I have a sneaking suspicion that the transition zone is the only real thing, and the bars are illusions that we dream up to avoid the void where the real change, the real growth occurs for us. And whether or not my hunch is true, it remains that the transition zones in our lives are incredibly rich places. They should be honored, even savored. Yes, with all the pain and fear and feelings of being out of control that can, but not necessarily, accompany transitions, they are still the most alive, most growth-filled, passionate, expansive moments of our lives. So, transformation of fear may have nothing to do with making fear go away, but rather with giving ourselves permission to hang out in the transition between trapeze bars. Transforming our need to grab that new bar, any bar, is allowing ourselves to dwell in the only place where change really happens. It can be terrifying. It can also be enlightening in the true sense of the word. Hurtling through the void, we may just learn how to fly.
The realm of between is the place where, according to religious and social philosopher Martin Buber, people meet in authentic relationship. Buber tells a story. When a man is singing and cannot lift his voice, and another comes and sings with him, another who can lift his voice, the first will be able to lift his voice too. Buber concludes that is the secret of the bond between spirits. The story of the two singers is part of a collection of Hasidic proverbs and aphorisms that Buber selected because they revolve around a single question: how can we fulfill the meaning of our existence on earth? When people join together in mutual understanding and for common purpose, something happens between them. In relationship, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. As Martin Buber says, that is the secret of the bond between spirits. Buber describes the realm of between poetically. On the far side of the subjective, on this side of the objective, on the narrow ridge where I and thou meet, there is the realm of between. Buber also describes this realm in more concrete terms. He says the concept of between is to be acquired by no longer localizing the relation between human beings as is customary, either within individual souls or in a general world which embraces and determines them, but in actual fact between them. Buber proposes the reality of between as a way to bring about the genuine person again and to establish genuine community through authentic relationship that focuses neither on the individual in isolation nor on society as abstraction. The realm of between might be termed the realm of relational individuality. The realm of between is the place where individuals enter into relation with their whole beings to join together in fulfillment. In Buber's words, in its human manifestation, spirit is not in the I, but between I and thou. This kind of divinity is not out there somewhere, not transcendent but immanent, right here between people. When people recognize each other as authentic human beings in authentic relationship, creativity happens. The relationship itself is created, and the participants in the relationship are changed. Between is a realm of synergy where joint work is more productive than working alone, where people can do more and be more than they could do and be by themselves. John Lennon and Paul McCartney have been described as a single creative being, each very different from the other, both collaborating and competing, working as a team even when they were working separately in a creative call and response, where each one's work and way of being in the world was made possible by the others. Authentic conversation between people can be challenging, as University of Chicago theologian David Tracy suggests. Conversation is a game with some hard rules. Say only what you mean, say it accurately as you can, listen to and respect what the other says, however different or other. Be willing to argue if necessary, to confront if demanded, to endure necessary conflict, to change your mind if the evidence suggests it. I don't think Tracy is suggesting that we challenge each other for sport, but rather that the game of conversation is interactive, mutual, and requires certain rules of engagement. Respectful behavior is necessary. This includes speaking as well as listening. An authentic conversation can be challenging, should be challenging to ourselves and to each other. Unitarian Universalist minister Alice Blair Wesley writes about the integrity of the free church and about the spirit of persuasion, which she describes as both free and freeing. She says each of us is called to give utterance, to ask, say, explain, defend what is the truth we see. To be unforthcoming, she says, is to be disloyal, for how can we learn from one another without candor? Each member is also called to yield the floor with humble courtesy, to listen, be open to, and try again and again to imagine what others see. She says the spirit of persuasion is the spirit of a free religious people. It is holy to us. It holds all together insofar as we live by it, in the embrace of the free church, in the generous embrace of people who are centered in ever-changing and responsively creative ways around a promise of fidelity, together to search for and dare to live by truth. Conversation is that spiritual practice that engages our hearts and minds in ever-changing and responsively creative ways. The poet Rilke wrote this about relationship. Even between the closest people, infinite distances exist. And he suggested that loving the expanse between them gives them the possibility of always seeing each other as a whole and before an immense sky. Rilke reminds us that even as we are bound in relationship, there is an expanse between us that allows us to see each other and be transformed by each other. Betweenness is about time and space, relationship, and transformation. Between can be the place between one thing and the next, the moment when the past is gone, the future is not yet here, the moment when you've let go of where you were, and it's not quite time to be where you are going. We're living now in a between time, not just this time of interim ministry that this congregation is living in, between one settled minister and the next who will come to serve you, but a much more fundamental time of transition in all our lives. We are living in a liminal time on the doorstep between one way of living and the new way that lies ahead. Can this be a time of reflection and renewal in our lives, a time of getting ready for whatever may come? Can this time be not just a void between one thing and the next, but a time of transformation? The poet John O'Donohue, in his poem For the Interim Time, describes a place where the path you took to get here has washed out, the way forward is still concealed from you. It's a time of continuing uncertainty in this world we live in. We may be struggling to find solid ground with the path behind us washed out and the path ahead still concealed, as John O'Donohue puts it. O'Donohue suggests that the more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become. Our task is not just to endure this time, but to endure faithfully. Enduring faithfully doesn't mean withdrawing from the world and waiting for this time to be over. It's a time not to simply retreat from the world, but to be on retreat with our own selves and with those who share our lives. It's a time to be intentional about what we are doing with our time, what we are doing with our lives. It's a time to endure faithfully, to live faithfully to our values, even if we have to figure out what those values are. It's a time to take care of ourselves. This includes allowing ourselves to feel our own grief, not only for lives lost or jobs lost or opportunities lost, but for the opportunities we have, allowing ourselves to feel the possibilities that still exist in our lives and in our world. It includes self-maintenance, maybe a little self-indulgence. It includes going easy on ourselves if we don't necessarily feel like doing all those productive things we could be doing with our time, and we need to find a little time to ourselves to just be before we go on. It's a time to cultivate our authentic relationships with others, those nearby and those far away, even if we need to find new means to do so. It might even be a time to forge new connections or to renew old ones. It's a time to take care of each other. This includes reaching out to each other by phone or email or other technological means, if not in person. Reaching out means getting outside of ourselves and giving something of ourselves to others who need what we can give. This enduring faithfully means noticing what's going on inside and around us, aware not only of the pain and sadness, but aware of the joy and beauty. This enduring faithfully, this living faithfully, means being open to transformation, open to getting ready for the new reality that lies ahead. As we live in this between time, may this enduring faithfully refine our hearts. If our hearts have been broken, let our hearts be broken open to love. So may it be in our lives and in our world. Our closing hymn is number 318, We Would Be One.
With
We now extinguish our chalice flame and we keep its light in our hearts. And as we go forth, may we live our lives fully and creatively so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those whose lives we touch.